Hi everyone, Sylvia from sylviasartandjewelry.com and Babes Art Class. I'm going to be doing painting. I'm going to start a painting today, and it's going to be a cornucopia, fall cornucopia. So what I did is I drew the cornucopia first, and your cornucopia is basically, it's a big circle, and then that's going to be filled with vegetables and fruits. And then the end of the cornucopia is sort of like a V that you twist up. You turn it up at the end. And the cornucopia, the opening to the cornucopia is a lot wider than the tail end of it because of perspective. So I'm going to start by putting in a basic shape of my cornucopia. This is the top. You can't really see a lot of this round part. But here is some of it. Cornucopia. And then the back, we've got this V coming up that we've twisted up. It's like an inverted V or like a triangle, and we're turning it up. And the cornucopia has these sections in it, which are pretty cool. And so we're not going to actually paint that right now. I'm just putting that in for a shape, beginning shape. Just kind of fill it in a little bit. And I'm using a flat brush. Flat means the top of the brush is flat. This happens to be a number 8, but it's a great little brush. So I'm going to get started right in. I'm going to start with the bigger shapes. I have my pumpkin. It's kind of tucked in here. And right near that I have a butternut squash. But I'm going to start painting in this pumpkin, and I have burnt sienna, which is kind of an orange. It's an orangey brown. We'll paint in that shape. And then we'll add a little more orange. And we'll pick up a little highlight with some yellow and a little white. And the pumpkin has the different sections, the one in the middle, and then 2 side sections. And we need a little more. We might have to go back when it dries a little. Okay, that's a little better. And then we'll add the details to the sections later. We have another pumpkin. I'm going to do more of a yellowish orange. And I'm going to start out with yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is a dark, very dark, earthy yellow. It's like a brownish yellow. So this is a little pumpkin in the front. And I'm going to take the yellow and white again because I used the yellow ochre as the dark base. And I'm going to do the center to highlight the sections of the pumpkin. So this is a fun painting for this time of year. I can't believe it's almost Thanksgiving. Definitely looking forward to the feast. I'm just going to put some of this extra paint back here into the Cornucopia. Just so I don't waste it. And the more colors, the better. So I've done that. Now I'm going to do the butternut squash. Butternut squash, I'm going to definitely use the yellow ochre. And I have some apples in here. I have eggplant, squash, pumpkins, corn, tomatoes, carrots, grapes, red and green apple, some leaves, some wheat, stalks of wheat. So I'm going to take a little bit of brown, go around the edge of the squash. To give it a little bit of definition. And while I have it, I'm going to do my sections in my pumpkin. Go around the edge. If your lines are ever too strong, too bold, you just kind of brush over it and that blends it in. So I'm definitely going to add some white highlights to that butternut, because butternut is not that dark. So we're just going to brush like in the middle of the pumpkin, you know, leaving the darker area towards the edge. And I'm going to add some more highlights to my pumpkin, both of them, since they've dried a little bit. Okay. And the butternut does have like a little stem. And what really makes vegetables and fruits, things like that, realistic looking is adding those little details of stems. If they have any lines, like if they have any lines that are like seams or veins or anything like that, makes them look more real. Okay, so now I think we're gonna, since we're working in orange, I'm gonna put in the carrots. I'm gonna outline them first. In the burnt sienna. There's one there and one there. And just fill it in lightly. We're going to go back in with the real orange. let's hook that back on. In the back. Okay. My easel's falling apart here. All right, we'll outline it a little more before I fill in with orange. And we'll pick up the orange, and it's going to be bright, so we'll be going back with white. We'll go back in with the white. And pick up the burnt sienna again. Pick up those lines. Give it some definition. And then what the carrots have is they have little lines going kind of, almost giving them like little sections. I'm just using the brown here. And including little details like that help to make it look more realistic. I'm going to blend them in just a little so they don't overtake anything. Okay, there's the carrots. I'm going to put a little bit of highlighting that kind of follows that seam, those sections that the lines in the carrots make. Highlight squash a little more. Okay, so the next step, and I'm, kind of staying in the same color family here. I have some corn. So I'm going to put the corn in. And the leaves are coming up the sides of the corn. And the corn is really showing in the center. And I put in another one down here. And we're going to take a little bit of the bright yellow. I kind of put in, we're going to dab in little squares of color going sideways against the shape of the corn. And you can't see it real good yet, but we're going to highlight it with some white. And we're going to put a little darker details in there too. So we're going to put in just a little white. We're going to dab against those little squares that we already put on there. You don't have to do every one. It's more giving the impression and the feeling of the corn. It's kind of fun to do. Okay. Then we're going to kind of make a brownish green. I have some brown and I have some sap green. Mixing it together with some white. So it's not too dark. And we can brighten that up later. But the leaves kind of come up from the bottom. And they come past the end of the corn. In this bottom part, you'd fill in and kind of overlap your corn. The same thing down here. The leaf goes past the end of the corn. And of course we can put some of the silk, that they call it, coming out at the end. But we'll do that later. Okay, so there's the corn. I'm going to highlight the husk, they call it, I guess. Not leaves, but husks, with a little white. And I'm going to take a very tiny brush. I actually made this brush. This was a small brush that I cut a lot of the bristles off because I really need a fine brush to do this type of detail. I'll show you what I'm going to do. Just going to put in a little bit of that silk at the end. You know how the silk, that's how they tell if the corn is done. When the silk turns brown. So when it's white, corn isn't done yet. Not developed. Okay, so I think that's enough for today, and tomorrow we'll do some more. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time.